Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Well, might need the mic on. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Crypto Bobby. Hope you're having a great day, great night, wherever you are watching or listening in from. And just getting acclimated to my new streaming system, so didn't have volume for the first 10 seconds of that, but was shouting out to my man King David, who had the first salty comment of the day. Silence the voices of truth. The crypto is dropping and your money is taking losses. You're fake. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Appreciate the time. Glad to have you here as always, King David, and your nice, wonderful comments. Hope everybody else is having a great day here as well. So glad to be chatting and talking to you guys. And per usual, when it comes down to the crypto market, the second I go live, the market has dropped a little bit, at least in the past hour or so. Taking a little peek over here. But there has really been not very much volatility in the past, 24 hours or so. Bitcoin has been ranging between really 4,000, between 4,000 and, 3,400 and 3,430. So it's been a fairly tight range for Bitcoin, fairly tight range for Ethereum. And the biggest, I would say some of the biggest news that's really happened recently has been the BitTorrent ICO has been one of the big movers, up over 6x from the ICO price. So that's been really one of the only thing that's been happening of note. There hasn't been a ton in terms of price action happening in the crypto market in the past few days since we've gone live. Some of the big news in the past, let's say, past few days, Kraken, which is a US-based exchange that is one of the few kind of fiat on-ramps for the US, Kraken, Coinbase, Gemini, and Robinhood as well. But Kraken has acquired a future startup that is based in Europe, which is called Crypto Facilities. Deal is supposed to be over $100 million. I don't know if that is cash or primarily stock at this point in time, but pretty big news if you are in the EU. It's registered with the UK, and from a lot of the people that I've heard from, this is actually a pretty large deal moving forward for European regulation and for Kraken as well, which has actually fared, for the most part, when you look at the downturn in Kraken's volume, they've done pretty well after faltering in mid to late 2017 when they had some issues with their platform, onboarding new users, etc. So taking a look at some of the comments, what's going on, everybody? Looking at yeah, Doug Polk, shout out Doug, posted a new video. I actually watched it previously, so shout out Doug. As you all know, Doug only comes back during the bull market, so we're about to see a massive run up here. No, I'm kidding. But Doug's a man. Shout out to Doug. I thought the video was pretty solid. He had some good points as always. In short, yep, Stefan Mendoza, what's up, brother? Shout out to Stefan for, I believe, integrating ETHFinex into what's happening here. Sorry, guys. Jesus, hell. For my microphone and my setup now, apparently. Down for 2 minutes. RIP. Hello, I feel like an asshole. All right, we're back in it. Sorry, guys. So this is amateur hour shit right now. I'm usually better than this. All right, I'm killing myself, Smalls. Fucking Wendy Peppercorn out here. All right, so going to what we were talking about before. I was trying to. I rambled for 2 minutes without actually saying anything. So shout out to everybody who stuck with me on that. But apparently there was no audio for a solid 2 minutes. But 1 out of 1,024 said our exchange is in more trouble that we know of. And that question doesn't like fully make sense. And to my drinking Bobby, it's water. It's Monday. I drank enough during Super Bowl. Shout out to the Pats for continually winning and making me hate my life. But I did bet on the Pats, so at least I want some money. But to that question, our exchange is in more trouble that we know of. Not totally sure what the full kind of portion of that question was, as far as are there more exchanges that we know of, or are exchanges going to continually be in trouble? So 2 points to that. Number one, if you're looking at things like the Quadriga CX hack, or not hack, the CEO either being dead and having all the keys to the cryptocurrency with the worst succession planning of all time, or on the other end of the spectrum, the guy, there's like 50-50 chance he's either faking his own death in India or had the worst succession plan ever. Either way, the people that had their money in Quadriga CX probably never getting that shit back. So that's pretty unfortunate. So there's issues like that. There's the Cryptopia hack, things of that nature. With that, then you also have things like this, where you can look at some of the issues here. And this is Circle, which Circle bought Poloniex. when they bought Poloniex, they were always called Goldman Sachs back Circle, yada, yada, yada. But so Circle raised money through a Series E, and this is fairly interesting. This is something that you want to, I think, keep in mind, and this doesn't affect most people specifically watching. I don't think this affects most people specifically watching this because they're private shares. But so Circle is a private company. They've raised money through venture capital. They went all the way to a Series E fundraising. And they raised their last round of fundraising. The shares were worth $16.23 a piece. Now, there's a company called Shares Post, which is actually getting increasingly involved in cryptocurrency through security tokens and the secondary trading of security tokens. Now, they raised money, Circle raised money at a $3 billion valuation. There are now shares being offered of Circle, according to the block, at a $705 million valuation, or $3.80 a pop. So a massive, massive devaluation from where they raised money at in May. Obviously, the crypto market as a whole has pulled back substantially since May, be it volumes, be it prices, Bitcoin, Ethereum, pretty much everything up across the board is down massively since May. So what's up, Crutches? Sorry for racing you, buddy. I love you. You know that. But everything has pretty much pulled back massively since May. So the market of not only Bitcoin, Ethereum has pulled back, but you're also seeing the companies that are involved in that ecosystem, like a Circle, that is also pulling back as well, which I think is fairly interesting. And it goes to show that there are a lot of companies building cool things that are either profitable or getting into profitability, have raised very large amounts of venture capital. They're still really inextricably tied to the price of Bitcoin, to the price of Ethereum, to the volume that Bitcoin provides. And if you see, massive market pullbacks for Bitcoin, you're going to see valuation pullbacks for these companies as well. So just something I think of note when you look at this. But this is, a very Circle is probably one of the better run companies in the space. They also acquired Poloniex, which I think was a fairly questionable decision, at least in my mind. It was an exchange that was kind of, I don't want to say on the way out, but kind of on the way out in my personal opinion. And, now they're doing less than $7 million worth of volume a day, and they bought it for $400 million, I believe, at the time, while Coinbase Pro does 37 mil, which is also pulled back pretty substantially, but Binance does 520 mil in 24-hour volume. So the Poloniex acquisition, probably not the best move in my opinion. Shout out to the Poloniex team that sold that stuff, that sold their funds there, which is pretty damn Poloniex got out or sold at the exact right time to Circle. But I do think, if you look at the difficulties that somebody like Circle might be having in the marketplace as a whole right now, some of the lesser run exchanges, centralized exchanges, are probably dealing with this 10 times, 15 times freaking worse than that. Naima, thanks for the tip on the taxes, much appreciated. Don't remember exactly what that tip was. If you want to comment, I can reiterate that. But I'm not an accountant, so quick note on that. Definitely not a CPA, and would highly recommend using something like Bitcoin.tax and just giving that info to an accountant or something like that. Taking a look at some of these taxes. What's up, Hussam? Thank you very much for that super chat. Appreciate that as always, brother. Crutches on Twitch as well. And guys, if you're on Twitch, hit me up with a subscribe on Twitch. That'd be sweet too. Now on, I didn't even know you could do those GIFs on Twitch. Duddis with Scoops, loving the coverage. Shout out the block. Yeah, this is Frankie Scoops' article. I thought it was pretty solid. So shout out to Frankie. Hopping through as many of these questions as I possibly can. Coin tracking website. Yeah. Yep. I believe that was bitcoin.tax, and I also used, I think it was like cointracking.info as well. But on Twitch right now, so we're on Twitch and Periscope and on YouTube, so wherever you are, hopefully it'll be easy for you to watch this in the future as I continue to stream on all of these bad boys. cutting in and out. I am gonna freak out at this microphone if it's still cutting out on you guys. I apologize. I gotta get a better USB cord. Apparently, it's literally just the USB cord. Of a bitch. Is crypto even needed, or will it be surpassed before it ever happens? I don't know what exactly that question might even be alluding to, so I'd have to think a little more about that one. Rinbin, Dow is about to plunge over 50%, and you're going to have a flight to safety into gold, silver, Bitcoin, and other few quality altcoins. Watch equities market. That's the leading indicator. I've talked about this before on the channel, but I highly disagree with that. I do not think that if the Dow plunges 50%, people are going to look to essentially what equates to, and I'm as passionate about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as the next guy. That's literally why I'm sitting here on YouTube right now, talking and shooting the shit with you guys. But I don't think that people are necessarily going to, if the equity market crashes, look to magic internet money to as their flight to safety. I think that in many cases, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency has benefited from capital allocators putting some of their assets after solid years in the equities market, putting some of their assets potentially into Bitcoin. And I do think that we are seeing the infrastructure build out that has come a lot slower than many people have thought. Early 2018, you had the institutions were coming. Everybody's saying the institutions were coming, and the large scale investors were coming to save us all, and that everybody thought that large institutions are just going to start buying spot Bitcoin and spot crypto, and that's obviously not going to be the case. But when it comes down to that, I do think that the regulations as well as the infrastructure that will be necessary is being built out for larger scale investors to actually start to allocate small bits of their portfolio to cryptocurrencies if and when that they do decide to do so. However, like I said, I don't think that a massive pullback in the equities market is going to see a flight to Bitcoin as a portion of safety, and gold and silver too. There was a good podcast recently too. I've talked about Pomp's podcast in the past. Talked about Pomp's podcast in the past, but he had a tweet on from CoVenture, and there was one portion of that a tweet is a crypto trader at CoVenture crypto, but I believe he was at Goldman in 2008 when the market tanked. And his big bet, I could be slightly misphrasing this, but one of his big bets was gold in 2008 during the basically the economic collapse. And gold was not necessarily the flight to safety that he thought it would be either. And one of the reasons, and this is interesting too, so paraphrasing a little bit here, but one of the interesting things that is if you have this massive pullback, you have an economic collapse or collapse in equities, that what happens a lot of times, according to a tweet in the podcast with Pomp, and I've had a tweet on the channel before too, but what happens in a lot of cases with these pullbacks is investors will look to their most liquid assets to get liquidity from them and either move them to cash or to something even safer. But when it came to it, having all that money in money in gold was actually rather liquid, or certain ETFs in relation to gold or whatever it might be, those were easier to sell than some of the more illiquid assets that people are stuck in. So people are selling gold to basically cover losses in these illiquid assets. And that could also be true for Bitcoin if there is a massive pullback. If you have your money in a high number of illiquid assets, and Bitcoin is relatively liquid in comparison to basically in comparison to a lot of things out there, you could also see a sell-off in Bitcoin as people look to get cash out of the Bitcoin ecosystem to cover losses elsewhere and things of that nature. So something to think about. I don't think anybody necessarily knows exactly what's going to happen, But we'll have to see and wait and find out if there is a 50% pullback in equities. Personally, I don't want that to happen because I have a lot of my own money in equities, so I'd hate to see it, but it is what it is. So taking a look at some of these comments here. Bobby, why does your Twitch name end with Brady's number? That's Joe Namath's number, brother. Joe Namath's number. Oh, fucking Tom Brady, man. That game last night sucked, by the way. That was one of the worst Super Bowls ever. Shout out to both defenses, though, for the most part. I mean, Patriots defense played phenomenally. Jared Goff was disgusting. Tom Brady was not on at all either. Tom Brady was missing some throws, but Jared Goff was missing wide open people, on a number of different occasions. And the Patriots defense was freaking on point. So that's definitely, I mean, shout out to Patriots defense. Shout out to Belichick for taking a team that was scoring 30 plus points a game in the regular season, 28 points in the postseason, and shutting them the hell down. Belichick's a goddamn master. So there we are. Shout out to the punters as well. The punters. Pat's punter was pinning the ball everywhere. Like, I think every freaking punt from the Pats punter was, inside the 10-yard line, and then the Rams punter had one or two bombs that just had perfect bounces. So punters are people too. Crutches is people too as well. Taking a look. Yeah, Todd. This is called crypto/football happy hour. Yeah, Todd Gurley was definitely hurt. I mean, I don't think that was definitely a decision, obviously, by the coaching staff that he was not healthy enough to really play the full game. I mean, Todd Gurley versus CJ Anderson. CJ Anderson is thick with like 10 C's, bro. So Nelson, so cryptocurrency can fluctuate wildly but costs less to liquidate. Is that the upside? Not sure fully on the phrasing of that, but really when you ask that question, what I was referring to in regards to the if the market were to pull back, it's pretty easy for a larger investor or a smaller investor. Like, let's say you have your money, just for example, and this could be a little bit out of context in comparison to how Atit was phrasing it on Pomp's podcast, but just let's say you have a lot of money in real estate, or you have money in just something that does not have the degree of liquidity. So you have you have a bunch of money in real estate. The equities market crashes, real estate then crashes, or there's some tight correlation there between the two. There's just an economic collapse. Basically all the markets go down 50%. It takes a while to sell a large commercial property, whatever, a whole portfolio of houses, whatever it might be. It doesn't take that long to sell Bitcoin. It doesn't take that long to sell Ethereum. If you are a larger investor, you can go to an OTC desk and broker a transaction to sell a bunch of Bitcoin. It's not that simple, in a day, probably. It's not that simple to do so with a massive portfolio of real estate or anything like that. So that was kind of the point I was making there. What about those Bud Light Game of Thrones commercials? To be honest, I haven't watched Game of Thrones since season 2, so I'm not a big Game of Thrones guy. Kind of lost interest, so I didn't really care too much. But apparently, corn syrup is bad. That's my lesson for the entire. That's my lesson for the Super Bowl. Is corn syrup is bad. Definitely blue cheese. I mean, I'll eat ranch, but definitely blue cheese. 100% blue cheese. It's the blue cheese is goat. Blue cheese is king. Nelson, I wouldn't necessarily say that. crypto is quick. The more solid investments are slow, I guess, in parentheses, solid investments. I just think that there's, certain things have a degree of liquidity, have greater liquidity than others. If you have, just traditional equities, you can sell them through a brokerage very quickly. If you have, or if you have like a real estate REIT, you can sell that through a brokerage quickly. But if you actually own those, physical properties, you might be losing a bunch of money and need to recover those funds through something. And something like crypto or other assets in that comparison, like gold, if you have an ETF for gold, that's very liquid for the most part. And because of that, you might be selling that, even though theoretically the asset would hold up better during a recession period or an economic meltdown. Theoretically, that asset would hold up better. Doesn't necessarily mean that it will. Reynaldo, what's up, man? Thank you very much for that super chat. Yeah, exactly, dude. I was actually opened up a fat 100x short right now. Actually, now 50x. I'm sorry. I opened up a fat short as soon as I went live. Calm before the storm, because it's going to be stormy. Anytime there's a crypto happy hour, the price is about to drop. What's up, Thomas Scholes? Doom Online, what's going on? Bobby, do you think we'll see a slow climb out of the current market, or will we see this magical blue moon event that will jumpstart the next run? That's a good question. I think there's a couple things that people point to right now. Number one would be the Bitcoin halving, the Bitcoin halving that's coming up in 2020. I think that is potentially a really big opportunity, a really big impetus for the price, or solid price catalyst for positive momentum with Bitcoin specifically. But the cryptocurrency market as a whole tends to follow Bitcoin, so that could be something that could be a really positive impact for Bitcoin and for the entire cryptocurrency market as a whole. People have talked a lot about the killer app for Bitcoin. I don't know, or for cryptocurrency, if we find a killer app. I don't know if we've necessarily seen the quote unquote killer app. I think, there's been a few. You've had Bitcoin as a store of value, or it's not necessarily a store of value right now, but uncensorable money or uncensorable value transfer. That's been one thing that I think has been really interesting from a Bitcoin standpoint. Ethereum, you're starting to see this pickup around the narrative of DeFi, or there's this whole debate now too between like decentralized finance and open finance. That's been something where we've talked about, and I did my last video on MakerDAO CDPs, and basically getting a loan through the MakerDAO CDP process for 0.5% annual interest, which is a stability fee, but pretty crazy. 0.5% per year is freaking minuscule, but then you have a lot of other inherent risks with that. But that's one of the things that I think is really interesting. I don't know if there's going to be a magical event that will happen. I guess we'll have to really look and see. One of the things that I think personally that is not necessarily a massive pullback in equities. I think a lot of people think, there's, as you guys commented, or, as there's been a few comments here before, as far as massive equity pullbacks and people are going to run to Bitcoin. I don't think that's going to be the case. I do think that currency, kind of instability in currencies is more likely to add value to Bitcoin and to cryptocurrency. Whether it's happening in Venezuela or a number of places in South America or the Middle East. I do think that some of the currency instabilities that you're seeing there, that's a real life use case for Bitcoin. That's a real life value proposition where, somebody might be able to stomach 50% volatility when they're seeing 1,000% inflation on an annual basis or on a monthly basis, whatever it might be. And the on-ramps need to get solved and things like that. But those are real life use cases that I do think, might not be the exact event that will cause some type of massive run up, but slowly and surely as those events happen, I do think they continue to add value and increase the stickiness of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as a whole. King David mentioned the scam artist McAfee. I got McAfee muted on Twitter, man. I'm not going to go all in on McAfee, but I don't think it's. I mean, Doug Polk did a pretty funny number on McAfee in his latest video, but I think anything related to John McAfee is a silly waste of time in the crypto landscape. He's also going to probably most likely be penisless. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but penisless. No penis, anti-penis. Yeah, I would short McAfee's wiener if I could do that. So that's something. If there's actually, let's get to that. Somebody should really do this. I don't know if there's a market yet, but if somebody could create a market to short or to open up a prediction market as to whether or not John McAfee will chop off his genitalia in 2020, that would be great. So if anybody's active on Augur, I can't do it live right now. Maybe I will do it. But creating a market for Johnny McAfee to see if he'll chop off his genitalia, bet on it, yes, no, see if it happens on Augur. The best way to go around things. Got some haters on the Wolverine beard. What is what it is, guys. Sorry if you don't like it. So, good question. Delirium, Data Dash. Shout out to Data Dash. Met him in Malta when I was out there. Super nice dude. Is stating that while Bitcoin is going down and people are losing interest, OTC transactions have only been increasing and institutions are more interested than ever. Do you agree? Yes and no. I think Pomp has also tweeted about this, and there's been some debate in his feed about this, about, OTC transactions are increasing. And even to the article here with the block, Circle has one of the most popular OTC desks in crypto. You go over here at the other end of the spectrum, their OTC trading business, Circle Trade, has continued to expand despite a tumultuous year for the industry. A record number of new institutional clients. They grew their trading operation to 24/7, Circle's OTC trade, 24/7 coverage in the US, Europe, and Asia. And they have facilitated $24 billion in notional trading volume in 2018 via over-the-counter transactions. That's massive, $24 billion in volume. So that's pretty damn huge, right? But with that, you look at that and you say, wow, these massive institutions are buying over the counter. Massive, OTC buys are reflected in exchange prices, in my opinion. Somebody does not buy somebody's not buying $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and you're that's going to be reflected in the price on an exchange somewhere. Everything has some level of connectivity between these buys and sells. And I would say for these exchanges, or for the OTC volume, every buyer has a seller. In this case, and every seller has a buyer. And whether those are dispersed amongst, if somebody might buy OTC a bunch of Bitcoin, those sell orders might either be dispersed to one or a number of individuals within Circle Trade, or they might also be dispersed through smart order routing to a number of different centralized exchanges. But I don't think that just because there's a lot of OTC transaction volume happening, that's all spot long buys or anything like that. It's a two-sided market here. So that's my personal opinion. Thank you, King David. Appreciate that, brother. taking a look at some more of these questions. Somebody mentioned, do you think the wrap Bitcoin is required, the so-called stable coin? So wrap Bitcoin is not necessarily a stable coin. It's really it's a ERC20 token pegged to it's an ERC20 token pegged to Bitcoin, and we've talked about this before. This is one of the first, I think it's Get Nuo. This is one of the first applications of wrap Bitcoin that I think will be interesting. So this is this is a competitor to Compound Finance. There is now a lot of, or there's growing interest, in my opinion, in really on-chain lending. So Compound Finance, I talked about that before. I did a full video on that. Some people thought it was literally BitConnect because they didn't have brain cells. It's not BitConnect. But where you can borrow and sell, you can essentially borrow, sell, or you can supply and borrow basic attention token, DAI, Augur, wrapped Ether, 0x. On Nuo, you can actually now, at this point in time with Nuo now, you can borrow and supply wrap Bitcoin. So you can technically, if you want to invest or if you want to hold Bitcoin or a derivative of Bitcoin, essentially in this case, really, this BTC, you can supply that to Nuo and earn supposedly 3.25% annual interest. So if you were simply going to hold on to that Bitcoin for the next year, you plan on holding that Bitcoin, you could essentially offer wrap Bitcoin to Nuo and earn 3.25% interest, which is, I think, one of the things that right now this type of use case, I don't know if Nuo is going to be the one that gets it done, but I do think that Nuo, this type of thing is what will be necessary for WBTC, the experiment, to really succeed. King David, I took a look previously at the Kraken acquisition on that, and I definitely think that'll be a big deal in the in the long term. So certainly something that is a notable, definitely a notable thing to be following. Mr. Investor, what's up? Hey, Crypto Bobby, do you sell a trading course? I'd be heavily interested. I am not a highly active trader. I much prefer to just kind of hang out and talk to you guys and try to disseminate the information that I feel like is interesting and maybe applicable to you guys, and would not ever want to charge for a trading course. I think there are some people out there that do so and probably provide a lot of value. There's also a lot of people that have no idea what they're doing and charge money for trading courses. Cred, if you follow Crypto Cred, he has a YouTube channel that is highly informative, has a ton of information if you just want a free place to get started. Outside of that, I've never taken a paid course in terms of trading, so not exactly sure who would provide the best value there, unfortunately, if you wanted to do that. But I do not charge anybody for anything there. Watch WBTC on WAN chain. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look. I don't know exactly how that one will work. But yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on it. Not sure if you're at liberty to share the info, but with the current bear market, has there been similar decline in the usage of AirSwap? So ETH trading value has actually increased quite a bit. We've put in a number of, I think, product improvements on Ethereum or on AirSwap as a whole. So I'm pretty excited about that, and we've seen a lot more, just a lot more activity from a volume percentage, which has been good. Still nowhere near centralized exchanges, obviously, but trending in the right direction. So that's been definitely a positive I've been excited about. Check out DexWatch if you're ever interested. This is a pretty cool tool that I believe is a pretty cool platform that was built by Alethio. So something to keep in mind. It's, I think, a better, kind of like a coin market cap, but for Ethereum based DEXs. It's just has a better kind of user interface, and you can see the individual transactions. I think it's pretty solid. Expat Ron, what's up, brother? Fluidity Summit sneak peeks to look out for. I believe we're announcing some things. The team with Fluidity Summit that's doing that. I think there is a post going out either later this week or next week that'll have some more information on that. So yeah, definitely stay tuned. I don't have any specifics that I could probably give out now, but definitely stay tuned for that. Shout out RC Phantom. What's up, brother? Mr. Investor, okay, thank you for that response. Is it because you hate Bitcoin that you do not have a trading course? No, I actually really like Bitcoin. I actually really like Bitcoin, but I don't want to part you from your Bitcoin. I guess if that makes sense. I think if you if you really appreciate the channel. Always happy for a super chat. I'll buy a beer with the super chat. And shout out to everybody who ever does that. But as far as taking money for a trading course, other people would probably provide more value than I would in that. So I'm happy to let them do so. What has been your last purchase with crypto? I think it was my desktop computer was the last purchase I made with crypto. Bought that bad boy at Newegg. What's your favorite project not in the top 20 on CoinMarketCap? So I tweeted something about this, and I think that there are a lot of cool projects in crypto right now that might not even have a token behind them, and that I don't think it necessarily if a cryptocurrency doesn't have a token behind it, I'm still interested in, or a project doesn't have a token behind it, I'm still pretty interested in watching that succeed. So I think Compound is, to be honest, I think Compound is one of the cooler apps that I've used, and I have no relation whatsoever with the Compound team. But I do think that what they provide is very simplistic, extremely easy to use, and one of my favorite things to use when it comes to crypto. There's also a pretty cool website here. Try Lolly. Let's check this bad boy out. Lolly.com. So this is cool too. Lolly allows you to purchase. It's basically a Chrome extension that you can use to buy certain things with Bitcoin and get Bitcoin as a reward back. So you want to see, let's see if we can get an example here. I don't know the exact numbers. In some cases, they might be like 1 or 2% back for purchasing with a specific asset, and then you get back Bitcoin. So if you like, in this case, I shop at Bonobos. Love Bonobos. Great jeans, great shirts, whatever. You buy with if you go on Bonobos and you buy with the Lolly extension, you actually earn Bitcoin back. They pay you back in Bitcoin rather than doing like your credit card rewards. I have a credit card that has like really solid rewards that I typically like. So if I buy crypto, if I want to participate in earning Bitcoin, I usually just buy Bitcoin for the most part. So. When Bobby shaves his beard, the bull market starts. I've been enjoying the beard. It's I think it might be here to stay. It might be here to stay for a while until maybe it's summer, but we're rolling with it. The beard's staying for right now, man. Beard's staying. Why the hell not? I don't know. It's the bear market beard, but I don't know. Bitcoin at 10K maybe. Might be on for a while. The beard might be here to stay. BitTorrent Connect. So my thoughts on BitTorrent. I don't think there's a market to short it, but let's see if it's on CoinMarketCap. I don't even know if it's on CoinMarketCap yet. But the BitTorrent token is up. Here we go. It's up 45% today. it what was it? I think it's up 7x from the ICO. So the ICO, Justin Sun knows what he's doing when it comes to pumping crypto. I'll say that. Justin Sun knows exactly what he's doing when it comes to pumping crypto. They were smart in the sense that they only did a $7 million ICO, so that you do a small ICO and you know that there's going to be higher demand for it because you're partnering up with Binance and there's a loyal group of Tron people. You have the airdrops for the next 500 years, yada, yada, yada. So that's great. You have those airdrops. And then after that, you're really kind of pushing the community for these price, really for the price bumps. Hold on. Let's pull up Justin Sun Twitter. So, where the fuck is it? Ethereum killer. Okay, sure, buddy. So like this type of shit is where Justin Sun is really, really successful at pumping a token. And why, most likely you don't want to necessarily bet against something like BitTorrent having success in the near future. From a token acquisition price, I think that incorporating a token into BitTorrent is a waste of time. I think that it's stupid. I don't think that there needs to be a token incorporated there. I think that BitTorrent as a whole, like that type of ecosystem, yes, there's still a lot of users. I think it's trending in a direction that's probably not a positive one, yada, yada, yada. But when you have the CEO of a company that isn't afraid to tweet things like, there are 1 billion devices in BitTorrent ecosystem, there's only 990 BitTorrent per user, cherish the BitTorrent before it's too late. It's like a friggin' cheesy info, it's like a cheesy infomercial. It really is. It's like, buy this sham wow and get 3 for the price of 1 with shipping and handling because there's only 7 human beings on Earth that can now buy sham wow, and OxyClean is here to stay. You want to try it out now? Get it for free. Like that type of, I don't know. It's like that type of marketing that suckers people in, and it's super successful, especially if you have unsophisticated retail investors. And I think that there's still not a lot of sophistication in the marketplace as a whole. So do I think the price of BitTorrent token might continue to crush it? Probably. Is it maybe overextended at 7x the ICO price? Probably. But I wouldn't necessarily bet on Justin Sun just yet. But on February 11th, when that first airdrop happens, I am looking to short Tron through any way I can. So there we are. Oh no, BitTorrent. Would I rather long ShamWow or BitTorrent? Probably BitTorrent, but I'm too stupid, and I have these like dumb fake principles where I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like Tron, so I'm not gonna do BitTorrent. I'd probably lose out on 8x, so whoops, whatever. Hey, shout out Ronaldo. Thank you very much, man. Really do appreciate that super chat. Super kind of you. And I am very much appreciative for it, man. If Bitcoin was an animal, what would it be? Everybody knows that. It's a honey badger. The old sign on the side of the road. I believe Roger Ver was the one. I think Roger was the one that actually paid for this, but back in the day, Bitcoin, the honey badger of money. Look at the old Bitcoin logo. I mean, that's some. Bitcoin is not the honey badger of money. Where's this? Is this on Wired? Let's see how old this article is. Damn. 12/19, December 19th, 2013. I feel like this is one of those articles that I read at the actual like time I joined, because I think I actually signed up for Coinbase, if I'm not mistaken. I got a Coinbase account, I believe, December 19th, 2013. So yeah, Guys, at this point, a ton of great questions. I know we're not going the full hour, so I'm ripping you off with a crypto 50-minute hour. Crypto 5-6 hour. But hey, I'm hungry. I gotta eat dinner, so I am going to bail for the time being. But if you guys have questions, definitely sound off in the comments after that. Trying to keep an eye on those as much as possible. If you have any requests for things to be included in a future follow-up video, I am happy to do that as well. But until then, shout out to everybody watching on YouTube, on Periscope, on Twitch. If you're on Periscope or Twitch, hit me up with a subscribe. And I haven't been there all that long, so I appreciate everybody watching on the new platforms as well, and interacting with me. I can't speak English right now. That's when you know it's time to head out. No, unfortunately, old school gamer Rick, I am not getting a buffalo chicken wrap this evening. But thanks everybody for the time. Really do appreciate it. Always good to hang out. I hope you have a fantastic day or night wherever you're watching or listening in from. Sorry for all the audio videos in the beginning, or audio issues in the beginning. But my brain is fried today, so I'm heading out. Peace, everybody.